In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Podcasts Connect, which is Apple Podcasts' analytics platform, to better understand how your listeners are interacting with your show on the Apple Podcasts app. So in addition to the statistics that you're getting from your podcast hosting company, whether that's Buzzsprout or a different podcast host, Apple Podcasts also gives you access to some statistics and some data that can help you figure out how your podcast episodes are performing and then also how to make them better in the future. So in this video, we're going to dive into exactly what to look for. And so I'm going to use Buzzsprout for this example, but if you have a podcast host that you use, this will work just as well for them as well. But if we start in the Buzzsprout statistics, here on the overview page for, in this instance, how to start a podcast, if you scroll down to the bottom, we've provided this link to visit the Apple Podcast website called Podcasts Connect. And that's where you're going to actually find all your statistics for your podcast on Apple Podcasts. So if you click that, it takes you to this webpage, which will allow you to log in directly to go and look at your statistics. So we'll go ahead and log in here. And in here, you'll be able to see all of the podcasts that you've submitted to Apple Podcasts using your Apple ID with that particular email address. So we're going to look at the statistics for how to start a podcast. And right off the bat, there's a lot of data here. So there are a couple areas, though, I want to focus on to draw your attention to. The first one on this overview screen is this donut chart right here, total time listened. So this donut chart here shows you how many people listen to your podcast while they're actually also subscribed to your podcast in Apple Podcasts. So 55% subscribe means for every 100 people that listen to an episode, 55 of them were subscribed to the podcast, whereas 45 just wanted to check out that particular episode. So that's an interesting nugget. So you can see here that even if you're getting a lot of play data in Apple Podcasts, it's still good to tell people, hey, subscribe to the podcast if you want to see more episodes like this, if you want to listen to more stuff from this podcast. But if you scroll down this overview page, you can see some other things. You see the recent episodes for your podcast, and then also several columns that can give you some additional statistics and data that is helpful. So the first one is devices, and that simply refers to the number of unique devices that played that particular episode in the time frame that you're looking at, okay? So if we look at the very top, so this is looking at the last 60 days of play data for this particular podcast. And I believe that's the default, but you can change this to whatever time frame you want to look at. So the number of devices tells you how many unique devices listen to that particular podcast. The total time listened is nice to see, but not like super helpful. But average consumption, this far right column, that is super helpful. So this shows you how much of your podcast episode your listeners are actually listening to. And so if you'll notice, some of these episodes are in the 90s, whereas others, like one that we just posted, which was a bonus episode, was 60%. Now, we just recently posted that, so we'll let it kind of breathe for a little bit before we get too wound up about this 60% number. But you ideally want your podcast consumption to be over 85%. That means that most people are listening to all of the episode. That should be your goal. Now, if you look here and you see, something weird happening, like, oh, that particular topic had 70%, I wonder what was going on there, you might be able to figure out, okay, what made this episode different than the ones that get the 95% consumption, and be able to take those lessons and apply them moving forward. But let's say that we want to dive really deep into a particular episode. We want to see how that episode performed and how people consumed it. So let's choose an example here. Let's choose record your first episode. So if you click on the title, it'll take you to the episode overview. So this is for this particular episode, all right? And for this one, the default screen shows you the all-time devices, so that's the total number of devices that have listened to this episode since it was published. And then here you see a consumption chart. So this consumption chart shows you where people are dropping off from your episode. So at the beginning, it'll start at, very close to 100%. And then as you go along the episode, that percentage will start to drop. And that's because people are starting to pause or stop and they haven't necessarily picked the episode back up again. And then that will gradually decrease over the episode until you get to the end where it should drop off just like this. So this is super helpful because if you see like a sharp drop in the middle of an episode, so let's say that around 10 minutes, this went from 88% to 45%, that would be a huge clue that something happened at 10 minutes that I need to figure out, because clearly people heard that and decided they were going to stop listening to this episode or listen to something else. And so you want to figure out what it was that caused your listeners to stop listening to that episode and then not do that anymore. And then there's another key data point that I want to point out that Apple Podcasts will give you, and that is the devices subscribed percentage. And if you have any questions about any of these different numbers, you can click on any of these question marks and it will show you, it'll give you a little pop-up telling you what this means. And so this devices subscribed data point is the percentage of unique devices that subscribed when listening to this episode. So 56% here means that of the people that listened to this episode of the podcast that weren't subscribed, 56% of them decided to subscribe. And what that means is somebody checked out that episode of your podcast, they liked what they heard, and they want to hear more. That's what that number represents. And so you want to pay attention to this number in addition to your consumption chart to really make sure that your episodes are performing exceptionally well, both with your repeat listeners and also with people that aren't subscribed to your podcast yet. Now, there's some other data points in Apple Podcasts that you can poke around, like top countries. And then if we go back to the overview tab, you can see, the average time listened by device. You can see trends. So this is your listening trends over time. But this is all data that your podcast host will do a much better job of presenting for you. And the reason for that is because they're able to show you data across all of the apps, not just Apple Podcasts. So you'll get your Apple Podcast statistics, your Google Podcast statistics, your Spotify statistics, all combined into one central place where you can see that. So whenever you're looking at download numbers or things like that, your podcast host is going to be a better place to get that information than Podcast Connect. But as far as how people are listening to your podcast on Apple Podcasts and the behavior that they're showing, Podcast Connect and Podcast Analytics is actually a really good resource for you to make informed decisions moving forward. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions about Podcast Connect and their analytics platform, feel free to drop a comment below this video and we'd be happy to help you out. And then make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this where we talk about statistics, we talk about marketing strategies, gear, tech review, all the things that are going to help you be successful as an independent podcaster. But thanks for watching this video and we'll catch you in the next one.